Hello, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, welcome. My name is Eva and I love all things makeup and skincare. On this channel, for the most part, I mainly cover makeup. Now, today I have a very exciting video for you. I am still riding the high of after seeing the Barbie movie over the weekend. I have my Barbie press-on nails, which will be linked down below, my Barbie pink sweater. We're in a Barbie mood. So we are going to be going over all of the recent Barbie pink blush launches. There have been so many blush launches over the past few months, and almost all of them include a Barbie pink shade. So we're going to be going over all of them. I have the new liquid blushes from Juvia's Place and Moira. We have the new Colourpop cream blushes, the new Tower28, new shade of Honest Beauty, a Tarte. We have the new Patrick Star shade and the new Patrick Ta shade. We're going to cover it all. So if you are interested in seeing me try these blushes on my face and give you a description of the formula and help you decide which pink blush is right for you, go ahead and keep on watching. Now, to kick off this marathon of blush try-ons, I want to go ahead and start off with two new cream blushes that are actually the exact same price point. So we're going to be talking about the Tower28 Beachplease Cream Blush in the shade Dream Hour. And then we're going to be talking about the Honest Beauty. These are called the Cream Cheek and Lip Color in the shade Cotton Candy. So both of these retail for $20, so they are the same price point. And as far as product amount, the Tower28 one contains 0.16 ounces of product, and the Honest Beauty one actually only contains 0.1 ounces of product. So that's interesting. This one actually contains more product than the Honest Beauty one. So if that's important to you, I did want to include that. Talking more about the Tower28 Beachplease formula, if you are not familiar with this formula, it is a very, very creamy, dewy, blendable, dreamy formula. This particular shade is very pigmented. And the thing I really like about this formula is you can really blend it out easily with your fingers. You, of course, can use a blush, a brush, a beauty blender, etc., but it does apply really well with the fingers, which I like for when I'm on the go. Now, the Honest Beauty blush, first off, I have to say the packaging is really nice and luxe. I was surprised by the price point because it is a drugstore brand, but it is a pretty nice substantial package, and it does have that little hole in the back where you can like pop out the product if you wanted to put it in a palette. Now, just like the Tower28 formula, this formula is also supposed to be a lip or cheek formula. This one as well is also very pigmented. I will be including up close swatches of these as a comparison. This one I would say is slightly more pigmented than the Tower28 one. So let's go ahead and try these on so you can see what they look like on my face and compare the two different shades. We have applied both of the products to the cheeks. I did leave it much more saturated than I normally would for everyday wear. I'd probably blend it out a little bit better as well, but I want you to focus on the color. So on the right cheek, we have the Tower28 Dream Hour blush. On my left cheek, we have the Cotton Candy shade from Honest Beauty. Now, both of them applied equally easily. I just went in and spread it for the most part out with my fingers and then did finish it off with a BK Beauty brush to really blend it out. What I'm noticing from the formulas, or rather from the colors, is the Honest Beauty one has a lot more blue to it when I put it on my face. It's much more cool tone and like almost gives a little bit of like a lilac undertone compared to the Tower28 one, which is just a pure bubblegum pink. But they both blended really well. I already like these formulas. I wore this particular shade to the Eras tour the other night and it wore really well on my makeup for several hours, and I'm already familiar with the Tower28 formula as well, and I like them both. So if you're kind of on the fence about which one to pick up, I would go based off of which one has more of the undertone that you're interested in, and the close-up swatches will help you determine that. I'm going to remove this blush, reapply my base, and then we will get into the next set of blushes that we're going to be comparing. The next set of blushes we are going to be diving into are from Tarte and Colourpop. From Tarte, we have their new Maracuja Juicy Blush Shift in the shade Big Ego. Now this is supposed to be one of their like pH adjusting blushes. I know everyone's on like the pH trend. I actually did a video on that recently. I will link it above. But this is supposed to be one that like adapts slightly to your skin tone. I swatched all three of the shades of like the shifter ones in the store, and they didn't really shift. They were all beautiful and lovely, but I feel like it's a little bit more of a gimmick. So I did want to mention that. And then from Colourpop, this is their newest launch. I feel like it didn't get as much hype, probably because people are like blush exhausted and trying to recover from it. But this is their new cream blush formula. For prices, the Tarte one retails for $30, and then the Colourpop ones retail for $12. Now, from Colourpop, we didn't have a super bright pink shade, so it is a light pink shade, but I wanted to have the opportunity to talk a little bit more about the formula, so I wanted to squeeze it into the video. Diving deeper into the Tarte one, as I mentioned, the whole like color changing aspect of it, in my opinion, is pretty gimmicky, but the blush itself is lovely. I know it'll probably scare some people just by how like wet the blush is. Like if you swatch it in store, it is a juicy blush. However, it does dry down. You don't have to worry about product sticking, or rather your hair sticking into the product. You don't have to worry about it fading. Like this wore really beautifully on me and almost formed like a little bit of a stain underneath afterwards as well. So don't be afraid of just how like juicy it is. Now these Colourpop blushes, the formula is more of a like satin matte cream blush. It's how they describe it, and it's very accurate. It's not super dewy. It reminds me a lot of the Makeup by Mario, they called like the blush veils. You know what I'm talking about. The recent like cream blush launch from Makeup by Mario. They remind me a lot of the formula, where it's like pretty sheer but very buildable, and then kind of dries down almost to like a, I don't know, like a cream to powder finish. So these are really, really interesting. They didn't come out with like too many shades upon launch, but I am hoping they launch more. I'm gonna go ahead and go off camera now, apply both of these just so you can see what these shades look like on my face. We have the two blushes on my face. Again, excuse the weird blush placement. I'm just trying to put as much blush on my face as I can so you can get an idea of what the formula and what the shades look like. So on my right, we have the Tarte Juicy Blush. Hopefully it's picking up on camera how dewy it is. Like when I'm moving my cheek, you should be able to see like my ring light reflecting off of my cheek. And then on this side, we have that new Colourpop blush, which is much more of a matte cream blush. You'll notice we're not seeing as much light reflecting off of the cheek. These were surprisingly more pigmented than I thought. It was very quick to build up the product. And even though in the pan, they look very, very different, or I guess, I mean, they're both pinks, but like this one is much brighter, more blue toned than the Cherry Blossom shade. On the face, they're not too far off. Like, they're really not. This is more so about like what effect you want on the face of all of the cream blushes we've tried on so far, this is going to be your friend if you have oily skin or you don't like that dewy blush finish. All of the other ones have a dewier finish and are going to leave that nice sheen on your face, which I know not everyone likes. So keep that in mind when deciding which one to pick up. Moving into kind of higher end blushes, next up we are talking about Patrick Ta and One Size by Patrick Star. Patrick Ta has an amazing formula. It's called the Double Take Cream and Powder Blush, and these are duos where you get a cream blush and then a powder blush. They've been out for a while, but Patrick Ta recently released 3 new shades, and this is the new bright pink one called She's Giving. I will insert swatches comparing She's Giving to the shade, I believe it's called She's a Doll, which in the pan looks quite different, but actually wears different in the swatch. So if you have been on the fence about this one and already have She's a Doll, hopefully that swatch I'm inserting now will help. The Patrick Ta product does retail for $36. And then from One Size, we have one of my favorite like cheek products of all time. This product is so underrated. I always recommend it whenever there is the Sephora sale, but these are the cheek clappers from One Size Beauty. Similar concept to the Patrick Ta palette, but this time you get 3 products. So you get the cream blush, you get a matte powder blush, and then you get a sparkly topper or like a shimmer blush. So let's go ahead and get these on the face. For all of these, I am going to, or rather for Patrick Ta, I'm going to apply the product the way he recommends, which is super interesting, which is he does powder first and then tops it with the cream, which is very interesting. For One Size, I'm going to be a little bit boring and kind of go a more traditional route where I'm going to apply them in this order. So I'm going to do cream, the matte powder, and then top it off with the sparkly shade. And we will come back and talk about the formulas and how they differ and how these shades compare. Okay, we are back. Fully aware that I look like one of the bonbons from the Nutcracker, but what's important here is I'm trying to show you as much of the product as possible. So going into the 2 different blushes. On my right side of the face, I have the Patrick Ta. And then on the left side of my face, I have the One Size Beauty, and I have all 3 of it on. And I have to say, when you add that glitter topper, it actually doesn't, you can't actually see the glitter. It's just providing, like, I want to say it's like a very like intergalactic blush. Like I'm going to the Eras tour again this Friday, and I think this is the blush I'm going to be wearing. I'm going to be doing like Lover era, and I think having that like intergalactic almost like sheen is just very fun for a concert. Now between the 2 shades, I would say She's Giving is a lot more versatile if you are medium to deep skin tone. For me, if I were to wear this in everyday life, I would have to apply it way more carefully because it is pretty dark pink and very bright. So I would need to tone it down a bunch, but this is perfect for someone with medium or deeper skin tone. The cheek clapper in the shade Attention Seeker is great for, I would say, fair, light, and medium skin tones because it is more of a true bubblegum pink, whereas the Patrick Ta one is just like a richer, darker pink. I really like both of the formulas and I recommend them both highly, so it's mainly about which color speaks to you. But I have to say there is just something so fun about the cheek clappers and getting that 3rd product for around the same price. Getting that like glitter topper to be able to use as a highlight is a nice bonus. So if I personally had to pick between the 2 for myself, I would go with One Size because you get that topper and then the shade suits me a little bit better. We have saved the 2 liquid blushes for last. Today we are going to be trying on and talking through the Juvia's Place liquid blush in the shade Pink Lady, and these retail for $18. And we're also going to be talking about the very new launch from Moira Cosmetics. This is their Love Steady liquid blush in the shade So Cute. Both of these are very similar to the very popular Rare Beauty liquid blushes. As far as applicator goes, they have the little doe foot applicator and then come in a little bottle. I have worn both of these. Well, all these blushes that I've been speaking about today, I've worn. These both perform well, but they do perform differently. So I want to talk about it. The Juvia's Place blush is most similar to the Rare Beauty blush in that they are highly saturated and pigmented. So when you apply the Juvia's Place blushes, you have to be careful and barely apply any at first. The Moira Cosmetics ones are super interesting because they are a much dewier blush that leaves more of like a sheen as opposed to a super saturated color. I'll actually do a live application of these to give you an idea of the difference and how they apply. Oh, and I forgot to mention the Moira ones retail for $8.50. I did pick up the PR set with all of the shades, so if that's something you'd be interested in, leave a comment down below letting me know and I can swatch all of them. I don't know if I'll try them all on my face because there's a lot, but really talk through the shades and could even do like some Rare Beauty comparisons. Let me know if that'd be helpful. Juvia's Place, we are just gonna do the tiniest dot. I'm like, that's probably honestly too much. And then for Moira, we are also gonna do a tiny dot. The Juvia's Place one is a little darker, and the Moira one I would say is a little bit brighter from a color standpoint. Swatches that I'm inserting right now will give you an idea of those color differences. I'm going to blend these out with a beauty sponge. That's how I like to blend out my liquid blushes. Starting with Juvia's Place. It still blends quite easily, you know, even though it is really pigmented. I could have actually applied more, but again, I didn't want to risk. I've been burned so many times by the Rare Beauty blush where I've gone too crazy and then I've had to like redo my entire makeup. Okay, now for Moira, I'm going to use the other side of the sponge so we are not cross-contaminating. And by cross-contaminating, I mean cross-contaminating the colors. Here are the 2 colors quickly blended out on my face. The Moira one has more of a dewy finish like throughout the day. I did today, all day, I wore the Moira one and then I wore the Tarte one over it. So the intro of the video, I've actually been wearing those for over 8 hours to give you an idea of how they wear. But these are the 2 blushes on. I'm not really noticing much of a color difference when they're blended out. I will apply a little bit more though, so we can get a little bit more buildup that might help you differentiate between the 2. Okay, here are the 2 colors built up a little bit more. On my right, we had the Juvia's Place Pink Lady. On my left, the Moira So Cute blush. If you are interested in picking up a liquid blush, you love the Rare Beauty ones, maybe you want one at a slightly cheaper price point, although the Rare Beauty ones are still pretty affordable, and you're deciding between the 2 of these, if you're looking for something that has a dewier look to it, kind of similar to, I would say, like the Say liquid blushes, then I would recommend picking up the Moira one. Also, if you're kind of scared of a lot of pigment, I'd recommend the Moira one. If you want something that's super saturated, that really packs a punch and dries down a little bit more matte, then I would recommend picking up the Juvia's Place one, but you really can't go wrong with either of them. They're both really convenient, really pretty shades, and both of them have a ton of shades within the range. Here we have all of the blushes swatched on my arm, starting from left to right. Here we have the new Tower28 blush. Then we have Honest Beauty. Here we have the Tarte Juicy blush, the Colourpop blush. Here we have Patrick Ta. This is the cream from Patrick Ta. This is the powder. Here, these three are Patrick Stars One Size. Here we have Moira, and here we have Juvia's Place. That brings us to the end of today's video. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you have been interested in some of these newer blush launches, I hope this video was helpful in showing you some of those comparisons and talking through the formulas. I would love to hear in the comments below if you saw the Barbie movie, if you are as obsessed as I am, and now wanting everything in your life to be pink and gingham. Thanks so much, and I will catch you in my next video.